Hi, my name is Lauren. So I'm really struggling with making an intro. I've tried like 4 times already, but it just feels, I guess still like, I don't know. Let's just skip the intro. I'm Lauren. I'm bisexual and I upload videos on YouTube. That's all there is to it, okay? So today I'm going to be looking at the coming out note that I wrote to my twin sister in the spring of my freshman year of high school. So 2015, I think. Yes, 2015, which seems like a very long time ago now. And I haven't really looked at this in a very, very long time. I did briefly pick it up when I was cleaning my room a couple weeks ago, but I didn't read it. I just put it away. But I thought, it is Pride Month and I wanted to kind of read it and address the feelings I had at the time. Maybe think about, how I feel now. And so I'm just gonna read it. For the sake of privacy, I will be changing everybody's names. I may even just call them like boy or girl. I'm not sure. I didn't plan this video out really. I just wanted to be very, an authentic reading of this note. I didn't address it. I wrote it in the car to my sister and I handed it to her and she wrote me back in the car. So there's no note, there's no like dear Nicole. I just handed it off to her. Okay, so I think 88% sure, in parentheses, I like girl. I've been thinking about it for a while and I have had to consider several things. Before I launch into it all, which I'll do at home most likely, can you honestly tell me who in our family would be supportive / understand? Best friend says on the scale from straight by LGBTQ 6, I'm most likely a 2. The only bad / annoying thing is that it is summer. Okay, so I guess it was the summer after this. But whether or not my feelings changed by fall, I wanted to be almost positive before I did or said anything. You'll support me, right? So, I probably knew she was gonna, I knew she was gonna support me, and that I already sent her, wrote this note, but I remember it was a really scary moment, like when I handed it over to her and I like watched her read it, and then I watched her like write her response, and it was, it's like you're waiting. It's like passing of a sentence. I wouldn't know, but that's what it kind of felt like, how it would feel. Like you're just waiting to see what's going to happen. My best friend who I had confided in this, I knew she was already in the LGBTQ plus community and she was really supportive and understanding and really great. And it was incredibly helpful to have as a person in my life, and we still talk today, which I'm really thankful and grateful for. But I was nervous and sort of maybe still a little bit nervous with some of my relatives. I know that some of them are a little more conservative, and it can be tricky. A big thing for me that I had to kind of accept and get over was the fact, like, I'm Catholic and I'm relatively serious Catholic, I like to think. I try to pray every day, I go to Mass, I celebrate sacraments, etc. But I do not think that homosexuality or anything other than heterosexuality is a sin. And that's just how it is. I think that God created me as I am, and that we all have a purpose, and that love in any form is a great thing. And I don't think it should matter who it's between. But I was really worried to tell mostly my older relatives, I guess, about it. I wasn't really sure how my parents were going to feel, but I lived, and I still live, but my hometown area is really like the gay bubble of New Jersey. It's really maybe almost too liberal in a way. Other views are really shut down, but as someone coming out in a high school area where a lot of people were relatively vocal about their identities, sexual orientations, etc. It was really supportive and great for me. I'm really thankful that I was able to come out in a community that was so welcoming as Maple and South Orange. But I was really worried about like other people, because I think the hardest thing for me was the fear of suddenly being like rejected or suddenly seen like in a whole new way. And I do think that being bisexual, like I'm that's just me. Like I don't know if I'm proud of who I am, and I don't think that being bi really changes who I am. It's just another part of me. But before you tell somebody, you're worried that's going to totally change like everything, how they think of you. And I'd heard stories of people being really like kicked out or disowned. And I didn't really think that was going to happen to me, but you just don't know. And I love my family, even if I may not agree with them politically on some things. And I just suddenly was like, well, what if they don't love me anymore? What if they don't accept me? What if they reject me? And like, how am I going to cope with that? And I think I might do better now at this point, but I'm also a lot more comfortable with my sexuality and myself and just like my place in the world than I was when I was 15. And I'm only 20, so I hope that as my life continues, I'll get even more confident in myself. But it was really scary, and I didn't even tell most people directly. Either people that I kind of found out from other people. Some people I don't even know if they even know that I'm bi at this point in my family, and I just don't feel like mentioning it yet. I've never had a girlfriend, so it hasn't come up. But if I were to have a girlfriend, I certainly would not hide her, because I don't want a relationship like that, personally. I am going to read now the back of the note. I may cut this out if when I speak to my sister later she doesn't want her portion read. But I want to read it. I think it's just like indicative of how supportive she was. And she's like, that was everything to me. Nicole is like my absolute best friend. Like, I have other good friends. If you're watching, don't be offended. But like, Nicole is like my absolute best friend. I was literally like just randomly energy venting to her last night about, I don't even know. And to think that like, she just had such a positive response, and I think I don't know if she gave me a little smile or like a thumbs up, I don't know, but like to know that at least, like, no matter what anyone else thought, like I had her support, like just meant the world to me. So yeah. Okay, so the last thing I said was, you'll support me, right? And she said, of course I do, with an exclamation mark. I know that Mom and Dad will too, though at first they might be a little ishy, but they would lie and say they won't, or they weren't. I'm sure that Rachel will support you as well. I'm not sure about Grandpa 1 probably will. Grandma 2 will. Grandpa 2 probably won't talk about it, which he would if you were dating which you would if you were dating a guy. I'm sure cousin will be cool with it too. Happy face. No mention of my aunts and uncles. But yeah. But just that like initial, of course I do. Like, for the first thing for me to read was like so positive, so like affirming. Just like, yeah, it's really beautiful. And this was really like the start of everything, in the sense that, like I talked to obviously my best friend about it, but I started going to like our Spectrum Club meetings, which was my high school's version of like a GSA, Gay Straight Alliance, and I started just being more open about it. I have since gone to some prides, and I went to some things at the Queer Student Union at Temple, and I'm just trying to be like an activist for it. I spoke as a junior about coming out as a Catholic bisexual person. Maybe one day I'll share that, I don't know. And it's just something that I try to be more open with. I know it doesn't come up on my channel that much. It just doesn't come up that much, honestly. But it is Pride Month, and I just feel like it's worth putting out there, especially knowing that there might be a lot of people who are not as fortunate as me to have an inclusive and welcoming environment. There could be people who are not welcome at home or do not feel comfortable as they are, where they might be quarantining right now. So just being mindful of how we do not all have the luxury to just openly be ourselves. And yeah, I guess I anticipated this being more like a positive video, but I guess it's really put me back into memories of being really nervous and really scared. And to think about how I knew I was lived in an area that was so welcoming and so open, and how I was still so nervous and scared that I had to write my sister a note. Like, I couldn't even tell her face to face because I was so nervous. I really cannot imagine how it might feel to somebody who's not in the position that I was in, who comes from a family or a place or a community that really shuns people and shuts them out if they're any part of the LGBTQ plus community. Well, I guess I just hope that this video gives you, something to think about, and just be kind to people. If somebody comes out to you, it doesn't matter how confident they are. It's always scary. I remember, and even though I have things that I identify as bi or somewhere in the rainbow spectrum, on most of my social media platforms, but still, when you're telling somebody whose opinion something matters a lot to you, whether you're interested in them romantically or just as a friend, there's that moment that you just have to come out to them again, or not to them again, but you have to come out again and again and again. And it doesn't matter if the information's out there, someone may not know it, you have to go give it to them and tell them. And it sort of gets easier, but then it sort of doesn't, because you could always get rejected. But I think the important thing that I have accepted is that not everyone is going to do that, and if someone's going to reject you, they may have different reasons, and then you just have to decide, depending on how severely they reject you. If you want to try to communicate with them more, try to just get an understanding of where they're coming from and try to give your position, or decide that then you need to cut ties with this person, because nobody deserves to be talking to anybody who's toxic for them, or who rejects them, or who thinks ill of them. I had somebody very close to me who told me that he quoted part of the Bible where he was saying, hate the sin, love the sinner, because he thinks, clearly he's not dead, that being anything that's not heterosexual is a sin. And that was really hard for me to deal with. But I have since come to the conclusion that, I'm a sinner for probably lots of things, but not for being bisexual. I'm not a sinner for being bisexual. And if you're bisexual or asexual or homosexual or demisexual or any kind of sexual or trans or gender fluid or literally anything, you're not a sinner either. I personally believe that God made each and every one of us with a purpose, with a plan, and he made us all the way we are for a reason. And that's just all there is to it. This is not the happy way I wanted to end, but once again, happy Pride.
I was kissing you with my